What's up, guys? Welcome to Greased Lightning Reactions. Today we are here to talk about Fate Stay Night. Heaven's Feel just got back from the very first film. What was it called? Presage Flower or something? I think that's the name. I don't know. It'll be right in the title, but so yeah, I figured I'd do a little thoughts video. I'm gonna try to keep it very general in the beginning. Try to be as spoiler free as possible. If you kind of trying to figure out, just want to know what my general thoughts are before you go see the movie, or maybe some of you guys have never watched a Fate movie and you guys want to hear what I think about you guys going to see, because I do have specific thoughts about that. I'm going to try to cut it off at some point where I'm just going to be like, all right, guys, let me just talk about some specifics. Some of you guys might have, I don't know if it's like out there somewhere, if there's no theater around you, or if there is a theater around you guys. I know it's very difficult. I had to like drive 40 minutes just to get to this theater, but it was worth it. It was worth it. If you don't want to take any risk, I'm not going to say like the concept of a spoiler is very, very specific to everyone. I know my concept is very, very strict. There's a lot of things I consider as spoilers, so I don't know if you guys are that type, but I will try to keep things very, very general. I'm not going to talk about specific plot points, and I'm not going to talk about specific characters, really. Just more like general sense at the beginning, and then we'll go a little deeper, and I'll talk about it, okay? So, generally, I'm going to start with just like, what do I think about the film? I did think it was a fantastic film. About halfway through, I was thinking, but this is going to be my favorite Fate franchise property, but I feel like it was losing a little steam, a little more towards the back end, but I'll talk about that a little bit more. But specifically for you guys that have not seen Fate Stay Night, the Studio Dean adaptation, if you haven't seen Fate Stay Night Unlimited Blade Works, or you haven't seen Fate Zero, like you've seen nothing, no Fate at all. I would say that I was about to take one of my friends to this film, just to maybe as an introduction to Fate. Didn't work out, and I'm glad she didn't actually come, because would not have understood anything. Because even I think this is one of the more confusing films. More confusing things is like in the beginning of Fate Zero, you have an info dump. At the beginning of Unlimited Blade Works, it's very, very like dialogue heavy, and they're trying to give you like kind of. What am I trying to say? Like, ease you into the world, even though it's still a little bit of an info dump, right? This movie does not do that. It's just kind of there. I think it starts off like it will be like any normal type film. You got the high school scenes. You've got the regular main characters that you normally do. You got Emiya. You've got Rin. Sakura, Shinji, they're all attending school. So you're like, all right, so this is just kind of starting from fresh beginnings. But right away, you will, like, maybe like 10 minutes into the movie, when they start rolling the credits, you start seeing scenes from Unlimited Blade Works. And it's literally just like a fast forward version of a ton of events that happen in the background. And like, I've seen Unlimited Blade Works, so I knew what the hell was going on. But if you had no idea, I feel like there's a lot of essential information about what they're fighting for. And like, even Saber, who is core to this franchise, they don't really explain her presence. Like honestly, you start the movie, there's it's seemingly normal, some interesting like the plot starts like moving forward, and all of a sudden there's this like time skip type thing, where all this stuff is happening in the background, and all of a sudden you're like forward in time. So like none of that stuff in the background is explained at all. So yeah, I highly, highly recommend against going to this film without any prior knowledge. Now, I personally did not watch the Studio Dean adaptation of the Fate arc, of Fate Stay Night. If you're not familiar with the Fate franchise, there's there's 3 arcs to Fate Stay Night. So there's the Fate arc, which is the Dean adaptation. There's the Unlimited Blade Works route, which is the latest Ufotable production before this film, and then of course there's this film, which is Heaven's Feel, and then there is a prequel film not film, a series called Fate Zero, which will, obviously prequel, goes over the past and stuff like that. Now here's, for those of you that have only watched Unlimited Blade Works, I do believe you can watch this still. Before I went to go watch the movie, I kind of looked up what is essential to know for this film, and there was a lot of people arguing that you shouldn't watch Fate Zero because before this, because it ruined some plot points, which I can see that happening because there was some dialogue that was happening, some relationships and stuff like that that you normally wouldn't know about unless you'd watched Fate Zero, and maybe some of those are supposed to be more bigger reveals later. Not that they're really a huge focus on this first film, but definitely having that knowledge from Fate Zero already helped me understand a lot of things that were happening. So I'm not sure. I would personally say that watch Fate Zero and Fate Stay Night Unlimited Blade Works at least. I don't know, you could probably watch the Fate arc as well. I'm just waiting. I'll probably watch it eventually, but right now I'm going to wait till all 3 films are out, and then I'll wait a little bit more, and then if Ufotable does not announce a remake or remaster of the Fate arc, I'll just watch it. But I'm in no hurry right now. Yeah. If you're just starting out, you could do just what I did, which is I watched Fate Zero first, and then Unlimited Blade Works came out, and now I watched this film. Of course, it's not going to be in theaters. I don't know how long it's a limited release already. It was more expensive tickets. Only one, literally within 100 miles, there's only one theater that had this film. So, like I said, for you guys, yeah, I highly recommend getting into the franchise. But yes, that is that's where it is. So yeah, just general thoughts about the film now. Like I said, I think it is phenomenal. You have to keep in mind that it is part 1 of 3, so there's I still have some confusion. There are a bunch of plot points that they bring up that aren't resolved, obviously. So I'm assuming that I will be enlightened later, but as of now, I'm trying to judge the film that I have watched currently. I like specifically the pacing in the first half. I feel like the introduction to Shiro, Shinji, and Sakura specifically, these 3 characters, was done better than I saw in Unlimited Blade Works. You were to the point where you start to understand a little bit why Shinji is the way he is. If you've watched Unlimited Blade Works, he's always bratty and freaking hate filled and stuff, and there's more reasoning between the little interplay between Shinji and Shiro, and they make that very abundantly clear. It's characterized very well. Sakura, I love Sakura. Might be my favorite character so far in this portrayal, just because she's just so innocent, loving, mysterious at the same time. And then Shiro specifically, if you guys watched I think I only did 3 reactions to Unlimited Blade Works. They're probably still on my channel unless they've been copywritten. I'll have to check. But got a bunch of hate, because I was siding against Shiro at the very end. I'm not going to speak specifically to the scene because some of you might still want to watch Unlimited Blade Works. But let's just say I was more rooting for the other side, and I got a bunch of hate for it because I really didn't like Shiro's character. Just because I like logical characters, I usually like people that think things through. He is very much someone that does not do that, and his whole ideal, this is not a spoiler really, but just what he wants is to be a hero of justice, right? He wants to save everyone. He wants to grow up to be a hero type figure. That's what he aspires to be. And honestly, it's very apparent with every action that's the only thing that is running through his mind. I don't care about myself. I care about others. No matter how stupid my actions may be, I'm going to protect them. But it's the same in Heaven's Feel, but I feel like it's portrayed in a better fashion to the point where it's more believable. They interlace flashbacks as well as his interactions with Fujine, which is the woman that he lives with. just talking through his past, his constant flashbacks to like what led up to his situation. There's all this stuff kind of coming together in a way that's a lot more believable than Unlimited Blade Works to me. So I felt like I was rooting for Shiro a lot more in this film. So a lot of people have told me that Shiro really shines in this route. So far it's looking really good. One thing I will say about Sakura is that her and her family are definitely a focus here, right? But I her like lack of presence in the original is I was a little disturbed by it just because even in Fate Zero she's kind of a mysterious character, so you want to know more about what happened to her, like what is going on, her family situation, all these things, and what she has to do with this conflict. And in this first film you get the Sakura that you kind of know already, the kind, and like obviously has a crush on Shiro type, like all this stuff. You get all of that, protective, and you just get very tiny hints of something else. Like, there's something else to this character, but they seem to be saving it. And from the previews for the next film, it seems like they'll explore her even more in the next film. But in this first film, she doesn't have as much of a role. She, I don't even want to say damsel in distress because she's not really in distress, but at least as far as the film presents. But she's more of the Shiro's coming back to her type, let me protect you style character, which is probably going to irk some people because I'm sure she is like. I have some ideas about like where she stands and like what kind of character she is, but it doesn't really come through in this adaptation. The other thing I'll say, the fight scenes, obviously, having seen it in a theater, I was expecting, when I go to theaters, and like whenever, like I took my family to a Hindi movie one time, these limited releases, they usually relegate you to the smallest screen in the entire place. And, so like, it's surprising that we actually got like, it was like a really nice, ton of seats, huge ass screen, and amazing sound system. And I was really surprised. There's about 50 people there, which was way more than I thought there would be. When I watched One Piece Film Gold, which is the only other time, well, I did go watch Your Name in theaters as well. So yeah, there's a lot more people in that one. But when I went to go watch One Piece, Your Name, very broad. A lot of people know about it, mainstream, right? One Piece, people know about it, and I feel like not a lot of people will go see that because you need to be so far in the actual show to be able to understand it. And in this case, I thought, Fate, there's is a dedicated franchise, but it's smaller niche community for it. But there's a significant amount of people. It was a great experience. We like laughed together. We're shocked together. Like it was a great experience overall. But the fight scene specifically, it's a tale of two halves again for me. The first half, like it just straight into what I love about like UFO table animation, the dynamic like camera, the impact, there's specifically one scene where the impact like just left my jaw open, and I was like that like happy laughter you get, like it's like this is so good, I don't know what to do but laugh. That's what was going on. Two scenes specifically where the impact was clear, and it was like, holy crap. The other thing is, if you remember, I'm going to say specifically for Fate Zero, there was one scene that was animated, if you remember the motorcycle scene, that really, like, it was a good scene, but the motorcycle itself really stood out, the CG, like that. The second half of the film, I feel like they're a little more reliant on that type of animation, which I'm not as huge of a fan of, unless you really blend it together really well. And I feel like you could really tell the transitions in the fights. So, not that I didn't like the fights, but they weren't as good as the first half. Still really, really good fights between good servants and, like, all of this. So yeah, fighting supreme. The sound design was great. Um, as far as characters that are explored a little more, I feel like like I said, aside from those characters I talked about at the beginning, there's a bunch of other characters that are introduced, but a lot of the ones that had a huge role in Unlimited Blade Works, it kind of don't have as much as one there. So it's kind of like a trade off. It's logical, but still kind of strange. Like I said, like Sakura was really neglected in the first half. A few like servants were, but so far in this first film, it's kind of like we're gonna set a few of these other characters aside, or I'm not gonna say anything else, but we're gonna more focus on this half, and there's clearly a trade off. I'm just gonna say that. So my whole thing about actually watching Unlimited Blade Works first and Zero first, there's gonna be a clear like when you watch it, you're gonna have aha moments like, oh, I know that character, whoa, that character, like, but the movie never actually pays attention to it. Like literally in the entire like theater, you're gonna see like, but I mean, this is what I saw. Like you're like, oh my god, oh, it's this guy. Like like everyone was saying that together. But like it's in like passing. It's like, okay, obviously I should know this beforehand. There's certain like sound design wise, a specific sound that if you didn't know beforehand, you would be like, what? What was that noise? So like certainly you want to watch beforehand, but like if you don't, it's interesting because you're going to be just as confused as Shiro. So I don't know if that's desirable, but okay. Yeah. So the other thing, just art and animation itself specifically, I wanted to talk about a few things. So the artwork is supreme, right? All the Ufotable productions that I've seen, as far as artwork are concerned, phenomenal. It's unlimited budget works. Like it's amazing what they can do on a TV budget, right? So it was interesting. Like, I was really interested to see what they could do with a movie budget, right? Because I'd seen Kara no Kyokai, but it's been some time, and I feel like the development, like, some tools will be better, and maybe they can show off even more so, right? So it was just really weird because they'd have scenes where there's more frames. Like, you could tell it's way smoother, but they would, like, zoom in on the legs or zoom in on someone chopping something. It's like very specific tiny move, usually limbs, that you could tell it was way quicker, and it was just strange to me. Probably the 3D like zooming camera and all that stuff with the fight scenes also was probably something that since they leaned on it a little more, maybe it's a little more expensive, used it more for this film. So yeah. Thematically, very dark, very dark. There are multiple moments where you're gonna be like, ah, ooh, ow, like a lot more blood and guts and like, yeah, like I'm not gonna say like torture porn or anything like that, but it's certainly gruesome. Not to the point where it feels like it's over the top too much. There's just scenes like, whoa, oh, Jesus, what the heck? Why? Like you do feel that way, but it's certainly darker. The tonally it's very different. If you know anything about the Mato family, certainly them being at the forefront of this film really is evident because of it's pretty dark and all that stuff. What else? Well, the soundtrack really good. Just like Unlimited Blade Works, they take music from that and just kind of plug it in. And I mean, the ones that really stood out to me were the ones that were reused to the point where I don't really even recall what the other music was. So take that as it is. And the last thing I'll say before I talk about specifics is that the major problem I had with this film. So if I was to rate this, halfway through I'd be 10 out of 10, right? But as a standalone film, I would probably give it a 9 out of 10, which is still phenomenal, right? But has room for growth, but I felt like it was a little choppy. So I know they have a limited amount of time. There's a lot of material to get through. And they play off a lot of scenes to add mystery and intrigue, to the point where, like, you're like, whoa, what the heck? What just happened? And then it's not until like almost the end of the film where they actually explain what the heck is going on, with a bunch of jump cuts, which is really it was jarring, and to the point where I was kind of confused as to what was happening. I know that's the intended effect, but it's still like it didn't feel good to me. Like I was just like, ooh, whoa. Like I was like ready to jump on my phone and say, oh, best movie ever, and then like I was kind of like it was like brought down a level, and then like, it finished very strong. But that's my major complaint: the pacing, walking around events. I feel like even though there is some prior knowledge that is needed for this, I feel like character introductions could have been a much better. There are certainly scenes where a character just shows up, and you just assume, okay, within this time span that has passed, obviously these two people have met. It's like, okay, I will take that at face value. I know, but it still feels like I kind of feel like there should have been an introduction here. But these are just little. I think that's more of a little nitpick, not really something that bothered me too much. So yeah, overall, I would say watch it. It's great. If you're a Fate fan, you're gonna probably love it. So yeah, as far as general thoughts, I feel like I kept it very spoiler free. I've talked for 20 minutes. So I'm going to go into the spoiler section now, okay? So cut it off here if you don't want to hear anything else. I'll wait a little bit. Still here? All right. So specifically, those of you that have watched the film or know from the visual novel, just want to know more specific thoughts. So, Shinji was initially I was really like growing to like his character, because I was understanding that he had this friendship with Shiro, which was, I don't think it was shown at all in Unlimited Blade Works. And just kind of being shown up constantly when it came to archery, and like always talking I can understand his frustrations where this guy is so much more talented than him in certain regards, but at the same time he is like not thinking it's a big deal, yeah, I'll just quit archery, really don't need to, whereas he's probably like dedicated in himself to something like this. So obviously that it was changed pretty quickly as soon as Shinji came in later in the war. But for a little bit, I was starting to feel for him. Like I was saying about Shiro, I think his character is way better now, just because he seems a little more level-headed. He's not talking as much about, I want to save everyone. His fuel for actually wanting to join the war is way more clear. His conversation with Kirei, talking about, oh yeah, like he just straight up reveals that he was in the previous war, and I was just like smiling. I was like, oh shit, Kirei, man, you really wanted to do this, huh? It was just strange. At first, and I was like, oh yeah, this makes complete sense. He wants to know more about his dad. He keeps having these flashbacks, these dreams, and they show us this. And he talks about, your dad was actually in the war. He was a murderer. They didn't really, delve into, he's like, oh yeah, he was a mage assassin. And I'm like, so wouldn't someone who wants to look up to him as a hero of justice want to delve into that a little bit? My dad's a murderer, he killed for a living. I would feel like there should be some questioning there, but as far as motivation to learn more, participate, be more like Kiritsugu, it made a lot more sense. Speaking of Kiritsugu, that's what I'm talking about when I talk about Fate Zero. Those knowing Fate Zero, I feel like those scenes you're gonna appreciate a little more. You're gonna appreciate the tension that is implied between Rin and Sakura. Separated, adopted into a new family. Sakura talking about her adoption and asking Shiro how he feels about adoption. That connection between the two characters, which I didn't even think of, was brilliant. It just makes Shiro more of a human, makes him less of an idiot. I just like there's so many like ways that it really cleared up his character to me and made it a little more like enjoyable. Especially like you want a main character that you love, right? Like you want to support, and I was getting to that point. As far as what I was talking about with the skipping, like they literally just showed like Shiro coming back to life, Rin saving her, coming back, getting caught by Lancer, all this stuff, and like summoning Saber, and like going, like Saber fighting, using her Noble Phantasm for the first time, all of this stuff, like explaining what a Noble Phantasm is, and they probably didn't need to go too far into it, but I feel like one or two little hints might have been like, okay, I don't know. So there's all that. I forget, but did they ever actually like say that say what happened to Assassin in Unlimited Blade Works? I don't remember. Is it? And it looks like the same Assassin that was present in Fate Zero. Although, like, the cloak is a little bigger. It's a similar mask. Obviously, never saw the arm. Never really saw their Noble Phantasm. Unless it was the multiplication. So, yeah. As soon as those scenes when, like, just other masters and servants were just being murdered. And I was like, what? Wow, this assassin has such a huge role here. And the previous assassin, the summoned assassin from Castor, just imploded. Like, so I don't know how assassin got inside that dude's body, but that was like I was like, what was that necessary? But all right. I mean, he had a pretty poor end in Unlimited Blade Works too. So hey, I guess that's just his destiny. Other things to talk about. Lancer's introduction, Archer's introduction, all those introductions I was talking about that were pretty, like I feel like they should have introduced them a little more. What else? Just the introduction of the Shadow. Now, I have a guess as to what the Shadow is, just based on some reading I did as to the ending of Fate Zero, which is maybe one of the things that, may spoil some mystery from this film, if I'm right, of course. So it was crazy. Like, I'm still not completely understanding how, Mato Zenzo, what was his name? What was his name? How am I forgetting? Mato Zolken, right? Zolken? That was his name. I think it was Zolken. Him being Assassin's Master, but also how he is able to, I don't know if he's controlling, manipulating, or what, but this Shadow is not harming his assassin. It's not harming, well, I guess, why wasn't it attacking Assassin in the water when it attacked Lancer? But when Zolken went over to, like, okay, I just want to say, if you're going to discuss any spoilers whatsoever from this movie, just make sure you put spoilers in all captions, specifically for this movie, the first part, and tab down a whole bunch, and then put like, oh yeah, what I thought about the how the Shadow was presented, or blah 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 blah. Right? Okay, just to make it clear for the people that don't want to get spoiled, right? So yeah, like the dynamic. Obviously, that thing's very mysterious. So yeah, I have no idea. But yeah, I guess it made its way all the way up to that temple, looking for magic, mana, or something. And it is. I guess it tried to attack Assassin at that point. Yeah, but it didn't attack him in the swamp. I don't know. But yeah, it seems like one of the other characters that was kind of like glossed over, Ilya. Obviously, at the end of the film, it does kind of foreshadow that she will be more participating. I have no script for this. So I'm just talking. So near the beginning, when freaking Shiro gets freaking blasted, I thought he was dead for a second, and I thought, oh, maybe Sakura's the main character in this part. I don't know. I'm guessing Avalon is the reason, right? With the regenerative powers, that would make sense. Gilgamesh, I'm really hoping that he like you guys know, Gilgamesh is my favorite character. He's an asshole. He's a dick, but he's such a badass. I love his voice actor. Just his manner, like his character is very unique. That's why I really love it. So him being there is, yeah. I'm just waiting for him to do something. I guess he's definitely more involved in the second film. And then, I mean, they showed him talking to Sakura and her like gasping and stuff, and she's talking about, like, what if I was a bad person? For a while, I thought Sakura's servant was Assassin. Now, I don't know if Zoken took Sakura's servant somehow and is using it. And then at the same time, since she's no longer a master or something, maybe now she's going to be with Gilgamesh. There's all kinds of questions, right? I don't even know. It's just so much. But, yeah. Favorite part of the entire movie, I'm going to say, was... oh, yeah, I should talk about this. But my favorite part of the movie was that scene between Ryder against Saber when freaking Shinji comes down. And Ryder just gets blasted. The impact of that scene was crazy. I can't even... oh, my God. I could feel that in my gut. And at the end of the film, Ryder's back? What? There's so many, crazy things happening. I wish I could just watch it all in sequence, but obviously I can't do that in theaters. So there's a lot of questions, but I thoroughly enjoyed myself. There was disjointed moments when they're going between assassinations, and this is happening, that's happening. Okay, now we're in Shiro's dreams. Now, what was that flashback in his mind with the shadows? There's a lot of moving parts here. But I feel like eventually it'll come together as a, as a whole, and it'll probably make up for everything, all these little complaints that I have. So, yeah, that's gonna do it. I'm sorry for the spoiler section being so disjointed, but I'm just kind of, I just got back, so I'm just my mind's still muddled. I want to watch it again one time, so we'll see when I get the opportunity to do that, but. Yeah, that's going to do it. Definitely watch it if you've already read the visual novel. Definitely. It's great. It's great. It's a lot of fun. Try to get to a theater if you can, but yeah. All right, guys, that's going to do it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this little thoughts / review / rambling. But yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.